Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that can forgive, but never forget. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take a look at Mare Nostrum's Empires from Academy Games.
Ancient Greek mythology to Roman lore as well. There's a creature kind of creepy, but he's got some sex appeal. He stands at 9'7" and you'll never hear him talk. He's only got one eye, but he really likes to rock. They say he burned the village down, so what if he did? Don't be so judgmental about the Cyclops kid. He's got a tiny temper and an itty bitty fuse. If you're the one who lit it, then you're probably gonna lose. Mysterious and mighty with a really killer mind. Lives in a volcano making weapons for the gods. They say he ain't a baby, so what if he did? Don't be so judgmental about the Cyclops kid.
In Mare Nostrum Empires from Academy Games, 3 to 5 players take on the roles of the various civilizations that existed around the Mediterranean in the ancient world. There's the Romans, there's the Carthaginians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, and those kooky Babylonians. And they're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of crazy adventures. The game board depicts the ancient Mediterranean, and there, of course, are spaces for cities, temples, markets, caravans, those usually next to various resources. What's going to happen is you're going to go ahead, you're going to set up caravans and marketplaces and cities and temples according to the setup. The board also indicates 3 tracks, kind of a trade track, a building track, and a military track that's going to say essentially who's on top in each one of those categories at any given time. Now, each game round is going to play out in a series of kind of smaller rounds. The first thing you're going to do is each player is going to collect the various resources it gets. Now, you're going to get some gold for your buildings, your temples kind of increase that. You're also going to get resources from your caravans, and marketplaces will also increase that as well. And these resources are various things. You know, you've got dyes, you've got, stone, you've got iron, you've got, wheat. Just there's about a dozen or so different kinds of resources that exist here, and that's going to be important as the game progresses. Once you've collected everything, then you move to the trade phase. Who is ever the leader on the trade track, he is going to take one of 3 coins, and these 3 coins on both sides indicate the number of resources that are going to be traded that turn, and they range from 1 to 5. So essentially that person is going to select the number of resources to be traded. He's going to put that coin on the board, which means that and its reverse side won't be able to be accessed for at least a couple of turns, a couple of rounds. So what's going to happen is each player then is going to take one of their resources and place it out in front of their player screen. Then the trade leader is going to essentially look around, see what he wants, take one from somebody else, and then that person is going to take one from somebody else, and it's going to go around until everybody has a resource. If somebody gets more than one, of course the trade leader kind of has to give one out of his pool to whoever was shorted. But essentially, that's going to be very important because during the build phase, the build leader is going to choose who gets to build first. It can be him or it can be anybody else. But during the build phase, you can only build using certain means. You can spend any number of coins, or you can spend any kind of sets of resources, depending on what the costs are. Some buildings will cost 3, some will cost 6, some military units, have cost. And as you're building these things, you can spend, as I say, any number of coins, or you can spend the appropriate number of resources, but you can't have any doubles. They all have to be different resources. I think the Carthaginians can spend, 2 of the same on one item. So you have to have a varied economy. It can't be a similar thing. So that trade aspect is very important because when you go into building, you have to have different resources with which to build different items. And after you complete the build phase, you go to the military phase. Now here, you can move any number of triremes or soldiers into an adjacent area. Now, triremes can exist peacefully with other enemy triremes or opponents' triremes without attacking at any time. But your military units, if you move them on land into a place with other military units, you have to do battle. Battle essentially is a die roll. You roll 1 die for every unit you're bringing to the battle. There may be some modifiers, but you go ahead, you roll the die, and then they've got Roman numerals on them that have some pretty high numbers, and you divide by 5. And however many you can divide by 5, that's how many of the enemy units you kill. Now, during all of those rounds, the trade, the build, the military, you're constantly adjusting that track. You're looking at the tracks, you're seeing who is who's coming in where on those various tracks, and that's going to be very important as you move forward. So finally, during that fifth phase, what you do is you determine who the leaders are going to be on those tracks for the next turn, for the next game round. So you're going around, you're doing these things. Every game round, you're all doing trade, you're doing builds, you're doing your military adventures, and what you're trying to do is gain a victory. And there are a few different avenues to victory here. First of all, there is off to the side, there's kind of a larger kind of ancillary player board, and that's got a few win conditions on it. For starters, there are the pyramids, and the pyramids are very expensive. I don't remember off the top of my head how much they are, but you can essentially spend resources to buy the pyramids. If you buy the pyramids, boom, you win the game. Second of all, the same board is going to have various leader and hero and wonder tiles. And you can buy these tiles. Instead of buying buildings, instead of buying military units, you can buy these tiles. And these tiles give you special advantages throughout the game. But critically, if you ever buy 5 of them, if you have any 5 of them on your own personal player board, you win the game. If at any time you control 4 capital cities, or 4 legendary cities, which are other special cities that pop up in the game, if you control 4 of them, you win the game. And finally, at the end of the round, if you control all 3 of the leader tracks, the trade, the building, the military, if you control all 3 of them, then boom, you are the leader as well. So you're going around and around through the game. You are engaging in trade. You are building the buildings and the wonders and the heroes and the military units you think are going to be necessary to victory. And of course, you are then engaging in military struggles throughout the board. And then whoever can achieve one of those victory conditions will win Mare Nostrum Empires. So this is a game. This is another game that came out a few years ago, and there's more to that. That's just the basic rules overview. This game came out a few years ago, and it was one I was very interested in, and I never got around to playing it. And I recently spoke with Uwe and at Academy Games, and he sent me a copy of this because I really wanted to check it out. And it's a civilization building game, and if you know me, I love civilization building games. Some of my favorite games are games like this, where you have to kind of create a whole, an economy. You've got trade, but you've also got, tech or wonders, and you've got military units, and you're expanding. There's almost kind of a 4X feel, not quite 4X, but almost that 4X feel in some of these games, and some of them are 4X. But I really like these kinds of games. To me, they are among the most fun games I play. And so this is one I'd heard good things about, and I thought, I want to play this game at some point. And as I say, Uwe was very gracious enough to send me out a copy to play, to see what I think. Well, first of all, again, great production. Academy Games is they make great looking games. Good components, good looking board, good artwork, great production through and through. I'm never disappointed with Academy Games when it comes to production. Gameplay itself is very interesting. You don't realize it when you first start playing it, but it becomes kind of more and more apparent as you do play that trade at the beginning is absolutely essential, because if you can't get the resources you need in order to pay the costs to build the things you need, you're going to lose out. So you've got to be very wily in that trade, and you've got to be constantly looking out for things that are going to help you and maximize the resources you have, maximize your ability to work with those resources. So it's very, very important. But then, too, when you get into that build phase, you've got a lot of choices. Do I want to kind of concentrate on kind of a military struggle? And the thing is, too, that's something else I'll get to. But do I want to go for a military victory? So do I buy military resources, or do I buy things that are going to maximize trade so that I can produce more, so that I'll have more options, hopefully during a trading session, and I can buy more with. That's very important as well. And then, of course, just buying the buildings to bring in gold, because gold can be an important way to buy things and utilize things as well. So there's a lot of good choices there. And then you get to the military aspect of the game. And here, again, you've got fantastic choices. Specifically, with these choices, what was very interesting here is each player has got 2 players to the left and to the right of them that are potentially very hostile. And as soon as you concentrate on one, as soon as you throw your weight toward one, you're just inviting an attack from the other. So you're trying to play this game of offense, defense on both of your flanks, but you've got to take those opportunities when they appear, especially if it looks like somebody may run away with it. You've got to be aggressive, but at the same time, you're opening yourself wide open, and that's cool too. Knowing when to strike and how to strike is very important in this game, and I really, really like that quite a bit. I like the avenues toward victory, that there are different ways you can try to gain victory. I have a hard time thinking somebody's ever going to pull out getting on top of all the 3 tracks, because that to me just seems almost impossible. It's probably not, I mean, obviously, but it just seems like that would be a lot of work. But do I want to save up and go for the pyramids? Do I want to, try to buy the leaders and the wonders? Do I want to kind of buy them to get the 5 there? Do I want to go a pure military conquest? And that's going to be tough, especially if you're concentrating so much on that. Your economy is suffering. You may not be able to buy the replacement stuff you need. I mean, it's just a good, well-balanced, interesting game. And when I say interesting, what I mean is fun. It's a fun game. I love games, too. And one of the things I love about Civilization games is I love negotiation. And I love being able to kind of make, kind of deals with people that are maybe not binding, but, hey, I'm not going to attack you. Oh, I'm not going to attack you. And then the next turn you attack each other and that kind of thing. I love stuff like that. And I love kind of how you're trying to maximize the resource. This is a great game. I really enjoyed this. They also sent me the expansion to it. I haven't played with the expansion yet. I'm hoping I'll hit that. Maybe sometime down the road I'll be able to bring you a look at that. But the core game here is really quite fun. It's funny because Academy Games is one of those companies that, like, every time I play one of their games, I'm tempted to say, oh, this is my favorite Academy game. And then I go, well, they got so many good ones. Can I really say this one's the best? Because I love so many of their games. But this one is a great game. And I really like Mare Nostrum's Empires. Love civilization building games. The recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Mare Nostrum's Empire is buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and my friend Larry over here, he actually told me a very funny joke recently, and I'd like to share it with you. What do you get when you cross an elephant with a rhino? An elephant-rhino hybrid. Why is that funny?
He fought Kronos, the mighty Titan, in a battle most exciting. Made a trident for Poseidon, and helped make Zeus his bolts of lightning.
Yeah, it is. Wait a second, hold on a second. You can move, my guys.